What's up guys, this is Mr. SLIN and today I'm going to teach you the proper time to run a Kritzkrieg. I see a lot of new players making the mistakes when to run a crits properly, and in 6v6 TF2, making the right decision for a crits can make or break your round. So I want to teach you how to use crits, but unfortunately I don't have gameplay. I don't have any videos, I don't have a fancy presentation. I just have whatever's in my brain and one take on OBS recordings. So I'm going to teach you with the power of MS Paint. Oh, applause, everyone's shocked. Oh my goodness, Steve's gonna draw us some diagrams. That's right, I'm gonna teach you how to use Kritzkrieg with the power of paint. So, an Uber can build in as quickly as 40 seconds. But if you start at the same time as a Kritzkrieg, it will build in 32 seconds. There's a lot of math that goes behind that, but not really. It's 2.5% per second. That's how you get 40 seconds. And that's if you're building at maximum capacity. You're healing one target. You're not swapping targets at all. 40 seconds is the fastest you can get it. Kritzkrieg, same thing, 32 seconds. Now, any of you mathematicians out there will know that 40 minus 32 is 8 seconds. Now, 8 goes into 40 5 times, which means that the 8-second difference is a 20% Uber advantage for the Kritzkrieg user. Now, a fun fact about the number 8, besides the fact that it is a lucky number in Chinese culture, 8 is also the same amount of time that your Uber will last when you Uber a single target. If you Uber a single person, it will last for 8 seconds, which means, okay, that if I use my Kritzkrieg exactly at the 32-second mark, I can use the entire Kritzkrieg on like a demo man or a soldier or even a scout. I can use the entire crits before this guy even gets Uber. And that's critical for you to know, because a lot of players will just like run crits randomly. No, you don't want to run crits randomly. You want to run it right here when both medics are spawning at the same time. You get that 8-second advantage, you get that 20% Kritzkrieg advantage, and you're going to crush them. Now, there are 3 key moments when you should be running a Kritzkrieg, if at all. Opportunity number 1, at the beginning of a round. That's right. If you're at the beginning of a round, both medics are spawning at the same time. A perfect opportunity for you to run crits. Secondly, when both medics die and spawn at the same time. When both medics spawn at the same time, but this is very similar to point number 1 here, but if you're in the middle of a round, both medics die, you can run Kritzkrieg. But there's some conditions, and I'll teach you about that in just a moment. The third timing for running Kritzkrieg are Kritzkrieg rotations, and I will teach you about Kritzkrieg rotations near the end of this video. But let's go into a couple scenarios. Voila! That's right. I have a diagram for you guys now. Everyone's like, whoa, that's crazy. I know, right? I know. MS Paint is amazing. Okay, 5 capture points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are going to be the blue team. The enemy is going to be the red team. Red is always the color of the evil people. Okay, so let's go through the first one at the beginning of a round. So, I'm running to middle, and he's running to middle, and I'm gonna put my demo man here with me as well. So we're running to middle, and they're running to middle, and it's one of those standard mid fights. Well, if it's a standard mid fight, actually, something to note is that most mid fights will end before a team even gets Uber. You jump your soldiers at each other, there's a big duel going on the point, and a lot of people die. Neither team will even get Uber in a lot of these scenarios. So the fact that you're running Kritzkrieg doesn't actually hurt you at all, because the Kritzkrieg, besides the actual charge itself, is effectively the same thing as a standard metagun. So you're really not losing anything as far as like your buff duration or just the general way that you should play the game. You should play it virtually the same way in both of these situations, but you have an ace card up your sleeve. Let's say you're losing this mid fight and you back off, and they stand on top of the point and start capturing it. Well, you have 100% and they only have 80%. So you could actually re-push back into middle and crits onto them and wipe their entire team with your Kritzkrieg. That is your ace card up your sleeve. Now, the enemy team might spot you on crits and they might play around that, but it's still difficult for them to play around it properly. And you can crits back in and stop them from capturing middle. So that, I would say, is the awesome power of running Kritzkrieg at the beginning of a round. And there's a lot of high-level medics that, would do this, but the one who made this really famous is Shade, because he would run it in the very first round on the very first middle. A lot of teams are, they're thinking about all their game plan, they're thinking about their strategy, they're thinking about their last pushes, they're thinking about all these different things. And Shade, right out the gate, is running Kritzkrieg, completely catches the enemy team off guard, and it's just a great way to open up the match, because now the enemy team is just discombobulated. They're just not thinking properly. They're just like, oh my God, I can't believe he ran crits on us. Like, what else does he have up his sleeve? So that's something for you to consider, is running crits. Now let's go to the second one, when both medics spawn at the same time in the middle of a round. So let's say we're in this mid fight. I'm going to reset my diagram here. Let's say we're in this mid fight here on middle and both medics die, right? Well, when you respawn, you'll have control of middle. So let me do it like that. So you guys will have control of middle. Your medic will get back here to your demo man, and their medic will get back here to second point. And now you're in the similar situation as before. Again, you have 100% and they have 80%. A perfect opportunity for you to crits into their combo and possibly take over control of fourth point. This is a really great opportunity because of the risk reward. If you get a successful crits, you take over fourth point, and then you have another crits advantage pushing last. However, if you mess up your Kritzkrieg, and for some reason you guys use your crits and kill 0 players, well, you still have control of middle, and they're at 100% Uber. Now, it's actually kind of nice for you to be in this position here, and a lot of teams will actually pick this situation. A blue team is in the lead, because even if the red team were to take control of middle, it's a very difficult push to do. The 2-3 push on any 5CP map, pushing from second point to middle point, is one of the most difficult pushes you can do in the game, because this blue team has defensive advantage, so they're all positioned up on high ground, or they're watching these choke points and just making life very difficult for this team to push in. So odds are you're going to force their Uber, right? As they take control of middle, you're going to force their Uber. They're going to back off. You're going to back off with yours, and then you'll be in a similar situation as you were in this first example in the beginning of a round, which is that you have the the Kritzkrieg advantage pushing back into middle. So that's why, even if you botch this, you have a second opportunity, and you always want to have this ace card up your sleeve. Now, one of the things that you need to really, really keep in mind, okay, is that it's really bad to run Kritzkrieg when the enemy team has control of middle for the same exact reason. And that's why it's risky to run crits at the beginning of a round, because let's say you're in this position, right? They have control of middle and you can crits back into them. Well, it's still an issue for you. They have defensive advantage, they have respawn advantage, and it's the same position as we were, just 2 seconds ago, except for the tables have been turned. And if you botch this Kritzkrieg, you are on your last point, and they are here on second point, possibly pushing you into last. So it just doesn't give you very many options. It's much better, it's much more comfortable for you to be in control of the middle point, Kritzking on the fourth point, than it is for you to be on second point trying to make a crits happen in the mid. Because again, their medic can just be playing, he could be playing all the way on fourth point, and these players on middle can force your Kritzkrieg and then back off of this and keep your medic with the Uber advantage. So you really do not want to be in that position. So Kritzkrieg in many respects is considered a cheese play, meaning it's an all or nothing. If you're not necessarily all or nothing, but it's a surprise attack. And if the enemy team is aware of your surprise attack, they can play around it, they can plan for it, and they can avoid your crits. And if you don't get enough kills with that crits, or if you don't kill the medic with that crits, they're going to Uber in and just wipe your team. So that is the danger of running crits, and that's why 95% of the time, high-level medics are only running the metagun and not running Kritzkrieg. And this is talking in league play, of course. But yeah, you just don't see a lot of Kritzkrieg because it's so risky. Especially if you're on last point. Again, this is even worse if you're on last point, right? Like, let's say you have this Uber and you have to crits. When you're in this position, you absolutely have to do a push. It's the same thing as this position here, where like you have to push in the middle. You don't have a choice but to do that thing, because if they get 100%, right, then invulnerability beats 3 times damage. So they're just going to Uber into last and beat you. And even if your medics both die and spawn at the same time, and you go Kritzkrieg to try and catch them off guard, you don't have a backup plan. If this crits fails, they're going to Uber into last and beat you. So the closer you get to last point, the less viable Kritzkrieg becomes. On the other hand, if you have control, whoops, oh my goodness, if you have control of fourth point, right, and you're on Kritzkrieg, well, this is really great for you then, because even if you botch this and they take control of second, then you force their Uber here, and you have another Kritzkrieg opportunity. And if this messes up, you can go here. And if this messes up again, you can even try for here. But at least you have options. So this just gets better and better the closer you are to the enemy last point, and gets worse and worse the farther back you go. So just keep that in mind. Now let's talk about Kritzkrieg rotations. This is one of my favorite topics back from the gravel pit days. So when you were playing gravel pit, it was really difficult to break the last point holds. And so what you would do is what's called a Kritzkrieg rotation. So let's say I'm here on fourth point and I have 0% Uber. Well, my medic just spawns. I decide to go Kritzkrieg. Okay. So now I have 100% crits versus 100% Uber. So what you can do is use your Kritzkrieg onto them. Okay. Now, if you catch their medic off guard and he drops Uber, perfect, you win the game. But let's say he's a smart medic and he pops Uber like he's supposed to. Then he'll be at 0%, right? And you'll be at 0%. And they'll have a hard time pushing out of last because you Kritzkrieged into their last point. But you have that 8%, that 8-second Kritzkrieg advantage here. So you're going to be at 100 and he's going to be at 80, and you've just built yourself up a 20% Kritzkrieg advantage. So all you do is cycle out the Kritzkriegs and Ubers, get rid of all of them, and then you'll know that you're going to build yours faster than they can build theirs. And that is the secret to the Kritzkrieg rotation, is that you're going to do one crits, you know that theirs is going to they're going to pop their Uber, and then you get a second crits, and that's the one. The second one is the one you actually try and win the game on. Now again, if they know you're on crits, they can plan around that, but they're on their last point, they have very limited options to actually get out of that. And even if they do get out, again, you're back in this position here, where, hopefully they use Uber getting into second point. So now they're at 0 and you're at 40% advantage or whatever. So let's say you have a 60%. This is too difficult to draw for me here, but let's say you have 60% Kritzkrieg advantage or even 40% Kritzkrieg advantage. You can still do this play again into second point. So that's all I have to say about this topic. I hope you guys learned something. I hope that my drawings were good enough for you guys to learn how to play the game. And if you have any questions on Kritzkrieg rotations, put them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Catch you guys next time.